5:05 p.m. on Thursday, April 30th, 2026, and I'm calling to order the special meeting of the City Council. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We will go ahead and call roll.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. All right, we're going to move on to item number 3, adoption of the agenda.
I'll move the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, I have a first and then second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, we're going to move on to item 4, discussion and action items. 4.1, fiscal year 2026-2027 operating budget and capital improvement budget program review and discussion.
Good evening, Mayor Gottberg, members of the council. Welcome to our workshop and welcome to the public for being here. Thank you. So tonight, this is kind of part 1 of a 4-part series, really. And staff is going to present requests to you for the budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027. And some of these requests are kind of mandatory requests, things that are required by law, and others are discretionary, just things to make Placerville a better place to live, work, and play. So with that, I'll hand it over to your Interim Director of Finance, Natalie Torrencasa, to kind of walk us through those pieces.
Thank you, Dave. So if you're following along in your binder, or we're at the budget development cycle. So good afternoon, Mayor Gottberg, City Council members, and yes, thank you to the public. I will be walking you through just a handful of slides before I kick it off to the department heads to go over their requests. So we just thought it would be useful, especially if people are new to our budget workshop process, to go over the budget development process. Just some quick overview, I'll go over some budget basics, what our operating budget is, then our capital improvement program budget, which we call CIP, and then our budget development program. So budget basics, we are on a fiscal year that starts July 1st to June 30th. Our budget team consists of our city manager, Dave Warren, and all of our department heads. We do fund accounting. We have approximately 50 funds. They all have their own budgets. Then we do the general accounting, standard board, principles. We follow state and federal laws, municipal code, and policies and procedures. Continuing on some basics, we have agreements. We have the strategic plan goals. So we had that earlier this year. We utilize HDL to help us with our sales tax forecast for Bradley Burns, measure H, L, and J. League of California Cities, they help us with forecasting and providing us with the road maintenance and rehabilitation, as well as our highway user tax. Then we have our operating budget, CIP budget. We go through the adoption process that takes place in June with an open hearing, the first city council meeting, and hopefully adopting the budget, the second. And then it is a living document, so even once the budget is adopted in June, there can be revisions. So the operating budget is really our day-to-day operations, which consists of personnel, services, materials and supplies, non-fixture equipment, training, travel, and conference, which we'll be going over today in detail, insurance, utilities, and some other line items. So the operating budget is made out of, like the big ones would be the general fund, Fund 100, our gas tax fund, which is that highway user tax and the RMRA, downtown parking district fund. We also have grant funds. We've got those assessment districts, so the benefit assessment district, we have the CFD and the LMDs, the add-on sales tax, measure H, J, and L, then our enterprise funds, which is our water and sewer, and then our general liability fund. So for last year, or for this current fiscal year, 2025, 2026, we have a 28.44 million. That is our operating budget for all of those operating funds. And how do we get that revenue? What's the primary funding sources? It's through assessments, fees, grants, interest income, rates, water and sewer rates, and our taxes, Bradley Burns, and all those add-on sales tax. So for the CIP budget, which is our capital improvement program budget, that's really for more one-time costs, major improvements and repairs focused on streets, storm drains, water lines, sewer lines, the wharf, which is the water reclamation facility, and then other facilities. So for the CIP budget, the dollar amount varies from year to year. Sometimes we don't get to all of the CIPs, so they would carry over. And CIP funds include, we have a CIP fund for the general fund, the downtown parking district, we have a transportation fund, the TIM fee program, Measure H, Measure L, and then our 2 enterprise funds, water and sewer. And the primary funding sources for CIP projects, CIP programs, is charges, fees, grants, interest income, and taxes. So this budget development program and process, it's actually a pretty lengthy process. We kicked off, our budget team kickoff meeting was January 7th. We presented March 10th was our mid-year budget report. Then April 15th, we reviewed all the line item expenses. Then we went over our alternative service level requests. So this is for any expenses like additions or reductions, whether it's personnel or programs. CIP requests on April 8th. Then we had our capital outlay request, which is equipment, March 25th. Conference training and travel request, March 11th, and some other assumptions. So how the budget team kickoff works, as I mentioned, it is made up of our city manager and our department heads. We worked to consolidate all of our requests, and then we review them internally, and then we're going to present them to you as they were received. So we will be tackling the ASLs, CIPs, capital outlays, and conference training and travels today. So the process also includes us forecasting and projections. So we've partnered with, we have a Measure H and L Sales Tax Committee. So they provide recommendations. We had the strategic plan workshop in February. We're having our budget workshop number 1 today, where we're reviewing the requests that the department heads need. And then we have our budget workshop number 2, which is really where we try to balance the budget. As Dave mentioned, the open hearing, that's the first meeting in June, city council meeting. The adoption's the second meeting in June, and then revisions can happen throughout that fiscal year. So that concludes the overview of kind of our process. And, before I start handing it off and going over CIP requests, just open up to any questions or comments regarding our process.
Are there any questions from the council? Don't have any? Public, any questions at this point in time?
Pretty straightforward.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. All right.
What was your question again? Yes. Could be.
Could be.
It also could be building fees. It also could be permits and so, all of those would, encroachment permits, all kinds of stuff goes in.
The add-on sales tax, lots of things feed a CIP.
And they each kind of get their own CIP typically. So you'll see that later as we go through.
Okay, thank you for your questions. So we are going to dive in, and the first one up is our capital improvement program budget requests. And there, as you can see, if you have a binder or if you have the handouts with you, there's purple bars. We're going to review the summary, the roll-up at the end, but first we'll kick it off with the individual requests. So I'd like to hand it off to Chief Wren to kick things off regarding range maintenance.
Test. Thank you, Natalie. A lot of these that you'll see from us this evening are just retreads, so probably won't be anything new. We just ask for them year over year. Currently, the police department operates and maintains a range east of the city out in the county off of Camp Nauvoo Road. That range historically has been maintained by our own sweat equity and our own volunteer time and donations that we get. Over the years, I believe the range has been in existence since the 60s, and there's been no significant maintenance done or improvements done to that area. We've just been kind of piecemealing it so it meets safety requirements. What this CIP is asking for is funding so we can do some of the improvements, some of the safety improvements to the current facility, namely the backstop and the lanes where the officers actually shoot from. So, are we doing question by question on each one? Or? No?
Any other agencies use our range, or is it just ED?
Yeah, so Highway Patrol, Fish and Game, and the District Attorney's Office. They also assist with our yearly cleanups and stuff like that. We've kicked around the idea of having a fee for range use, but that would be something I'd have to consult with the city attorney regarding, because we are in an MOU. The property is actually owned by EID, and they give it to us with some stipulations that we will afford other law enforcement agencies the opportunity to train there as well. So.
I'm sure you've had conversations with the other agencies to chip in at times for stuff like this.
Yeah, they've helped. Yeah, they've definitely helped.
Like financially, or just with sweat?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, financially and through sweat equity, but. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, EID, correct, yeah. No, we won't allow the public to shoot there, correct. Yeah, the liability regarding that would be too great for us to assume.
And there are places to shoot in the county. You can just go to the woods and shoot.
Chief, how close are we getting to like a true safety? I mean, this is, obviously I live in law enforcement, I qualify also. I mean, how close are we getting to true safety issues out there with the backstop?
So the backstop is concrete backed, and it's the rubber chips that prevent the spalling of the rounds or the ricochets, and it gets to be concerning to where we have to actually shut down portions of the lanes so they can focus on one certain area, so there isn't. So we have range safety officers, range masters out there every time we train, and they evaluate the facility prior to the actual use. So they've mentioned several times that, man, we're getting close. So
And I see in here you have something about the concrete, the concrete lanes. Is there any way to break this in two, do the rubber one year and the concrete the next, or is it?
We absolutely can do that. The greatest issue with the lanes are through the big storms that we've had. It's underwashed a lot of that concrete and kind of separated it from the main shooting platforms. Men's locker room remodel. Well, the men saw that the ladies got the new locker rooms, so they've asked me to ask for new lockers as well. They are older. If you've been to our facility, they're old metal lockers, a lot like you would see in a school, and they just don't accommodate everything we're requiring the officers to store when they're off duty. Their weapons, their radios, their computers, and stuff like that. So this would be primarily just to freshen up that room and replace those lockers with something newer and bigger. Excuse me. And the carport gutters. These have been on here ever since I started, and I feel if I take it off, somebody's actually going to yell at me, so we just keep leaving them on there. I was actually talking to Dennis last week, and we may have some ideas, so we'll just leave it on there for now. The facility does need gutters over the carport. But we may have some opportunities.
I think with some cost-saving steps that we could take, to be able to do it ourselves. We would definitely do it. And at least clean it up to make it look decent.
The next is squad room flooring. So we have laminate flooring in the squad room, and it was never, it's not commercial grade, and it was put in 2014. So there are wear spots on it where the top laminate is completely gone, and you see it's almost like a cardboard backing coming through. So next would be gate repairs. So the issue with our gate is when they built it, where they put the motor was not optimal. So that's why we have issues with the chains, and we're constantly calling the gate repair company out, probably monthly, to fix or repair, the chain opening mechanism. So what we want to do is change the motor and relocate where the current operating motor is, so it doesn't put the stress on that chain to cause the issues. This is of concern because there's been a couple times when officers have been trapped in the back, and we've had to quickly run out and manually open the secondary gate to get them out of the back lot. So,
Chief, how much does a repair company charge us each time they come out to fix that gate?
do you have any guess? Yeah, it's quite a bit, and there's no, in fairness to them, they tell us when they come out, this is a Band-Aid, and it's every time a couple $100 to do it. Yeah,
So 10 times a year, times a couple $100, and
yeah,
we're getting pretty close to.
yeah. I would say yearly we spend a couple thousand on that gate repair. And that's it.
Hi. So I'm presenting for the 2029 to 2037 seventh cycle housing element. As you know, we're wrapping up the sixth cycle, and you've seen several items come before for the city council in the last 6 months, and you'll see quite a few more as we try to meet the August 31st deadline. SACOG has already started kind of the preparation. They've come out and met with the city and have done some field visits on some properties. But they're looking at ways to help cities and jurisdictions be able to have more uniform information so that we're not recreating the wheel. One thing that we've had in the past is REAP funding. Right now, there is no funding to help pay for the seventh cycle housing element. However, I'm closely watching AB 2002, which would restore that funding. So at this time, we need to lock down a consultant because everybody's trying to do that and they get busy, and the whole state is kind of working on this. So I have an RFP out that closes on Monday. What I've done is asked for $60,000 for this fiscal year, which we'd start the kickoff in December. The process takes about 18 months to 2.5 years to get a certified adopted housing element. I did receive one proposal today that is coming in about double of what I anticipated. So for the 27, 28, and the 28, 29, we'll continue asking for money to help fund the housing element if there aren't grants available to us.
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick. Now I'd like to hand it off to Melissa Savage, our city engineer, to walk us through her request.
Hello. So for the engineering department, the engineering division is not proposing any new projects this year. Right now we have a backlog of 85 plus CIP projects, and I'm not likely to propose any new projects anytime soon in the next 5 to 10 years. We have a lot of work to do. Unless there's any dire needs, we're just going to keep trying to fund the projects that we have. So for the water reclamation facility, we do have one project that's new this year. It's the generator roof enclosure. There have been leaks in the roof of the enclosure that was built in the 2006 upgrade. And so it has led to damaged equipment and generator repair costs. So this proposed project would provide budget for that repair, and they haven't decided yet if it'll be a repair or a full replacement. But we are estimating a $10,000 cost, and that would come from the Measure H fund. And that's all I have for engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Savage. Now I'd like to hand it off to our Public Works Director, Nick Stone.
Thanks, Natalie. The first one I've got, excuse me, is drying bed restoration. Down at the water reclamation facility, there's 3 drying beds, and the way that they're set up is that there's clay perforated pipe on the bottom of it, and on top of that, there's a smaller sand type material. And so the way that they're used is that if we have a sewer spill, we go and suck up the material with the Vactor, or if there's grease, and we go down there and dump it. And in theory, the liquid's supposed to drain out through the pipes and back in and get treated and processed, then we haul off the solids. Well, over time, those pipes have got filled with debris, they've got crushed, bunch of stuff. They're not functional right now. So what our plan would be is to dig that out, remove the failed material, replace the pipe, and then instead of having sand material in there, so it's not getting clogged up, we just replace it with concrete in there. So it's easier to maintain and clean everything up. Next one is the old water plant fence. That's up in, on Part E. Right now, there's a chain link fence that probably covers about 80% of the property. There's some old ponds up there, and we experienced a lot of vandalism because people just walk a few feet around it and they go right around the fence and go inside there. So I think that's a pretty big safety issue, and putting the fence around there. The guys have been up there several times repairing, boarded up windows, boarded up doors, things like that, just to keep people out there. What do you got?
Why do we still own this property? It doesn't do anything, does it? It just sits on the great. Thank you.
We've-
I tried to ask only great questions.
You want me to answer it? Yeah. So we explored getting rid of that property a few times in the past. The challenge with it is that there's a lot of our giant main from EID cuts through the center of the parcel, and there's all kinds of other water lines underneath there, so it's not, developing it would be a pretty big challenge.
No, enough said, when you, the giant main. Yeah.
We looked at costs for like filling in those ponds and
We
doing,
do something with it, I don't know.
Why can't we just gift it to EID?
the property?
Yeah. Get rid of the problem that we have.
I don't think, I don't think they'd want us to just hand them, I don't know, yeah.
But their main is running through it, right?
No, it's ours.
Oh, it's our main.
It's our water main.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
It's all our water infrastructure that's up there. Sorry about that.
Make a skateboard park out of it or something, just.
I was considering a fish farm, a koi farm in those ponds up there, but. Next one's annual street striping. This doesn't necessarily happen annually. It happens when funding allows for it. So just painting the center lines on the roads around town. After that is the Benham rapid flashing beacons. Right now we've got those little delineators that are kind of by the pool down there. Those things get smacked all the time. My office is right above that, and I see people fly through there pretty quick. So I just think this would make the area a little bit safer for kids and families that are crossing that area. Next one is a street light conversion for LED lights. Over the years, EcoSigns is a contractor that does the majority of that work for us. When they burn out, they change the ballast out to the newer LED fixtures all around town. You probably hear a lot of complaints about how bright they are. They settle down over time. These would be the ones that are all along the Highway 50 corridor, and just try and do it all in one project to replace them, because it's pretty labor intensive for them every time they need to go out there and set up on Highway 50 and everything that goes along with Caltrans and the permitting with that. So this would just blow them all out at once instead of replacing those each time they go out. Questions on any of those?
Yeah, can I go back to the drying bed?
You bet.
So if we don't have those available here, do we have to pay to have that hauled and disposed with the county, or where do we take those?
So we were hauling off the solids, and it was a pretty considerable cost. I know that the wharf was using, I don't remember the exact facility that they were taking it to, but there was a hazmat cost that was associated with it, just because it was based on the tonnage, on the weight. So
Without our draining, it'd be heavy.
exactly, it's a higher cost for it. Yeah. But based on the quantity, if it's a dry material, and if it's, I don't remember the exact quantity, but if it's under a certain quantity, it's allowable to take to the Kiefer landfill. So there's a huge cost savings with that. Yeah, so we'll save a lot of money long term with it.
Okay.
Yep. Other questions on any of them? No. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. So now we would like to just kind of go over a summary. Thank you to all the department heads for submitting your requests. So if you're looking, it has those purple bars, but what it does is it lists all the projects and then what funds are funding those projects for these new requests. So you can see that the first one is the general fund. So that is totaling $103,725. Then with the gas tax fund, the RMRA SB1, that's 210. Just wanted to mention, we've got water enterprise, sewer enterprise, but we also included Measure L and Measure H, so we don't have the handouts for those projects. But Melissa, did you just want to briefly mention the projects that we are going to propose funding with Measure L and Measure H this year?
All right, I think this thing is back on. So yeah, the projects that we are adding funding to existing projects are primarily the 2 Placerville Drive projects, because we are going to construction in 2027, so we are anticipating pretty significant need of Measure H and Measure L funds for both of those projects. And I will say also not shown on here is anticipated traffic impact mitigation fee program funds, because we are going through the update right now, and so we're not making any assumptions in the budget yet until we get through that process. But those projects will also likely include TIM fee funds. Other than that, the only other one on here for engineering is the annual storm drain compliance, which is an ongoing CIP just for our MS4 permit. We do annual inspections of the culverts, the outfalls to the creek, and so this is used for both just our involvement in the MS4 permit as well as the staff time it takes to do the required inspections and things that we need to do. That's it.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, so just in summary, generally, we just go over the new requests, but we also included the Measure H and L requests at the bottom, but you can see which funds each one of those requests is hitting. Did you have any additional questions for us?
I'll address that. So these are just requests, and we wanted to give you an opportunity and to give the department heads an opportunity to present these requests before we actually try to balance the budget. So we're not saying this money is here. Measure H and L, those are pretty solid. And what else do we have? Sewer Enterprise Fund, we're pretty good there. RMRA, there's some challenges with that as well. But anyway, we're just showing you the request. Thanks.
So the answer is no?
He's being kind. He's being nice. The answer to that question is no, this money does not exist right now. It's going to have to for her, though, because we can't get sideways with the state of California.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment, in building biology, just back to the carport gutters. So when we don't divert water, we normally destroy the TPO and other parts. We mold out the building, we get blasted with water, we have problems. So this would be a savings long-term, me working in roofing and so forth. I would recommend looking at it as an investment, even though I know we don't have the money. And then that whole quad floor flooring thing, once the laminate is destroyed, it takes out and makes you have to scrape off all of the underlayment, which is made of usually asbestos. So I would consider that a health and safety issue and keeping our service people safe. And then the gates are a nightmare. I ran an entire HOA, and I can say that that expense, that's an investment. So even though we don't have the money, we're going to save so much money by just tearing it out and doing it right, because the LVP, the luxury vinyl plank, and the diversion of water will save us a lot of nonsense in the future, but the amortization of the savings will make sense.
So that's kind of my question with some of this stuff is, I mean, with the, basically the $103,000 that would cover all of these projects, what are we spending maintenance-wise in patchworking all this stuff over the years that we're doing it compared to the $103,000? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, it sounds like we have this problem throughout multiple departments. So, I mean, if we're patchworking this stuff all the time, and as many years as I've been in construction, patchworking costs 2 to 3 times more than actually just spending the money up front and getting it taken care of, and figuring out what we need to do otherwise, throughout our budget to make this happen, instead of patchworking it all the time and having stuff just keep falling apart.
No, good question, and what we can do is go back and look at each one of these items to discuss the ongoing maintenance, deferred maintenance, and how that compares to actually just replacing the asset. So we can do that.
What the time frame for meeting that replacement cost with just the repairs would be good to know, yeah.
Right.
One thing we should probably get out in the public square, we don't have a mold problem at our PD office. So
Correct.
it's fine.
Right, yeah.
This is the
This
carport,
thing's been
it's
going
not the
on for a
building.
long time. If we had a mold
So,
problem,
just
it
a roof.
happened already. It'd be
Yeah.
done.
Rot out the joints and it will destroy that and then you have to replace the whole thing. That's all I'm saying.
What is the carport made out of? It's made out of steel, right? Yeah. You could even like.
It's made out of steel. And there's a lot of these things is, I mean, we are, wish list, right? We're giving you our, yeah.
Well, and not just, I mean, not just a wish list, but I mean, some of the things that, I mean, I'm looking at some of this stuff, and as long as I've been in construction, I mean, with the departments that we have and the people that we have working for us, I mean, how many skills do we have within our city that can literally start going, hey, you know what, we can probably take care of some of this stuff in-house instead of hiring contractors from the outside to deal with it. So,
And that was with the floor, we were just asking for materials because we were going to put it in.
gotcha,
We
yeah, so
we do a
this is
lot
what
of
I'm
that.
talking about. I mean, how much of this stuff can we do in-house and just buy materials and stop doing this patchwork problem and, patchwork that we're dealing with, and just get it all taken care of, so we're not dealing with this on every single budget process.
Thank you for the feedback. So is there any other questions regarding CIP requests? Okay, great. So we will now move on to the next item, which is our capital outlay request. Again, we're going to hold off on the blue bar summary sheet, and we're going to go over the individual requests. So I'd like to hand it off to Chief Wren to go over Mission Darkness Locker 7.
That's a fancy title right there. What this is a Faraday box for us to allow us to store electronic devices so they cannot be accessed remotely. Just about every case that we're dealing with now, regardless of, from your lowest level misdemeanors to your highest level felonies, there's some sort of electronic component that we end up taking as evidence. Some of the more sensitive cases, we do transfer those items over to either the DA's office or the sheriff's office, where they do have these Faraday boxes, just because we can't jeopardize or can't risk somebody accessing it remotely and wiping evidence that's crucial for the case. So this locker, that's what it is. It's a locker. Open it up, and it prevents external signals from accessing electronic devices inside. Questions? Next is a drug incinerator. So when we destroy narcotics or pharmaceuticals, we have to take them to specific facilities that are approved to incinerate these items. Right now, we're taking them up to Reading, which is kind of it's an all-day process for us. So what ends up happening is, because we can't destroy it as regularly as we'd like because of the distance, we end up storing this stuff in our limited space at our evidence. So a new assembly bill was pushed through, or Senate bill, I can't remember, one of those two. that it actually allows law enforcement organizations to purchase this equipment and destroy their own narcotics or pharmaceuticals, obviously with guardrails in place. But yeah, so we see a cost savings with the purchase of that. Next, just a truck for investigations. We've had good luck with trucks because they're just so utilitarian for us, from picking up bicycles and shopping carts around town to, our detectives conducting surveillance. People know what a Crown Victoria or a Ford Explorer looks like. That's a cop. But they see, a used Toyota Tacoma from Thompson's. They really don't pay it too much attention, so. And that's it. What you don't see on this is our vehicles, right? Our police vehicles, because we traditionally always ask for 2 vehicles per year, but we were fortunate this year to receive a grant from AQMD for the purchase of 3 vehicles for patrol. We're just working out the paperwork requirements, but those should be hopefully showing up within the next couple months. So huge cost savings to the city, and I'd like to personally thank Commander Muser for that. He worked hard on it. Any questions?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that our sheriff's department's going to be buying this incinerator get up also. Is there any way that we could get some kind of a contract or an agreement with them, even if we just help them to a smaller extent buy one of their units or something to that effect, just so you're not driving to Reading, you're just driving, to the sheriff's department?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah.
Certainly save a lot of time.
How many do these things burn up? A lot of drugs? I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I don't. This isn't a huge unit. Yeah.
We're not in Mendocino County.
Well, like,
On average, you take like.
I just see him with a shovel weed into the incinerator.
between all of the drugs, the illegal narcotics and the pharmaceuticals, about 2 pounds is what we submit.
Is that like once a month?
Yeah, once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
And this thing will burn that much product. Oh, you could probably burn more frequently.
Yeah,
They had the darn thing sitting there, you can just like, yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Questions from the public?
Catch that, Chief? Okay, she's asking if Marshall Hospital has these types of facilities already.
I don't believe they have incinerators for narcotics.
We don't have incinerators, we have drug depositories, both at the tribal location and Marshall Hospital, and any hospital is mandated that has a pharmacy to have a drug depository. Now, I'm not saying you can co-op a unmarked, unlabeled product. However, we could actually ask to co-op and save this money.
We're aware that they dispose of pharmaceuticals, but not controlled substances, not the regular dope that we get.
Plus, there's also probably chain of custody thing, even after case is closed and you're destroying the evidence, there's probably still.
Yeah, it's a whole process when we do it. It's got to be witnessed and verified and photographs taken, and it's kind of a big deal.
I don't think that works.
I don't know that they have an incinerator on site. I think they're transporting it as well. Yeah, we can definitely engage in those conversations with them.
Yeah, there's still a cost involved though, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just a staff time. Yeah. No, the closest one used to be out off of I-5 in San Joaquin County, but that closed down.
Account and they build these units. I'm not sure it will meet the capacity of your needs, but we have a wholesale account and it's very compliant, meaning they make Faraday cages and I have a wholesale and I would offer that to the city.
So that's what we're talking about, the Mission Darkness?
Yes.
Okay.
So they provide Mission Darkness bags for me and any military people driving around and they have an entire They're New Jersey based.
Okay.
We've done the Faraday compliance material. We move military and all PFAS and have an entire training course on the Faraday cages and compliance. And I know I can meet or beat this price and would hook you up with those people directly.
Okay, thank you.
So you're talking about ESD bags?
The SLNT makes an entire Berry compliance protocol for police and fire and military where we transport items. They make this material. This cost, I know we can drive down to half.
Okay.
Connect in with them. So that'd be
Thank you.
called SLNT for the record.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Wren. So the next up is we didn't have any for development services, so I'd like to hand it off to Melissa Savage to go over the engineering and the water reclamation facility requests.
All right, so same story, no capital outlay requests for the engineering division, but we do have 5 of them for the water reclamation facility. First is a spare pack pump. It's going to provide redundancy when the pumps fail. It's critical to operate a steady, reliable flow to enhance the secondary clarifier performance. So this is like a redundant purchase. And these are all sewer funded proposed purchases. Next is the primary scum chopper pump.
I love
You
the
were
name.
waiting for me to say that.
Yeah, this
I
is a
tell
great
you.
name. I love this name.
They always get me with these names. I would have messed it up even if I practiced it, so I did not.
Rubber pump. All right.
But yes, this is an important piece, no matter what. It removes scum and other floatable material from the primary clarifiers. It's become worn, it can't be rebuilt, so this is a new purchase replacement. Next is a control valve. The existing aeration valve is becoming non-functional and can't be rebuilt, so this would be a replacement. And then we have the activated sludge hub flow meter, and plant flow is conveyed through this pump. It's necessary for proper operation, and it's nearing the end of its useful life. And lastly is the backwash return check valve number 1. The existing valve doesn't seal correctly, so it needs to be replaced. Any questions about the water reclamation facility purchases? Nope.
So useful life for the activated sludge pump flow meter, what is the timeline on that one?
I don't know if I have the answer to that. I can look into that, though.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Next, I'd like to hand it off to Dennis Nishihara to go over the Community Services Department requests.
In the essence of time, I'll try to be as succinct as possible. A lot of these are long-term deferred maintenance replacements. I think we've all kind of spoken to the fact that we could either spend the money now to replace it. I do also want to kind of elaborate at the fact that all of the items, including some of the stuff dealing with the facilities, we do not own any assets. Everything that we own and we're mandating and we're managing right now are all liabilities. And many of those liabilities have foregone their life expectancy in regards to deferred maintenance. And so some of these things may seem minute in essence, but if we're able to catch the smaller fruit now and keep things clean, like I tell my kids sometimes, this is why we don't have nice things, because we don't take care of it. We can replace cheap stuff now, maintain it well. I can tell you this is probably 1/16 of an 11-page document we're starting in regards to a full deferred maintenance list, which does not include the potential $250,000 to fix the leak at the pool. So again, in the essence of time, I'll kind of jump through these. Public water fountains throughout our park system. Electric street golf cart, which would help some of the ADA issues and access at Goldbug Park. Picnic tables and park benches, and bleachers at Lions Park. Industrial outdoor sound system for downtown from Sacramento to Bedford Street. A portable stage, which we've been utilizing not just at our special events downtown, but we would be able to utilize in our parks for other events. Automatic electronic defibrillators to not just replace, but we also have locations that do not have them currently. portable swamp cooler to help with the stamp mill, and bell tower lights, which are currently a bit outdated. We've probably got about a year left on it that definitely needs to be replaced. With that said, many of these things have already started to kind of work with individuals throughout our community, including some of our elected officials and some of our public members who are currently here, in regards to fundraising and ensuring that we'll be able to have some kind of either in-kind donation and/or local partners to be able to work with us, including local grants. I'm available for questions if you have any. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I remember talking about a couple of these items last year, specifically the stage. I can't find it, of course.
Item 20,
So we're currently renting those for events, correct?
correct.
And so that's, kind of another,
$550.
yeah, and so that might be another time where it'd be good to know, times the number of times we rent it, how long it would take us to just buy them, what that time frame is.
Right.
It'd be helpful to know. And then I know we talked last year about the AEDs, and I think I remember something about Marshall Hospital having a program.
They are.
Do you have any success with that, or is that?
I believe it is, it's at the final steps to be able to get approved. I think that we have a very, very good chance of getting it. Again, just earmarking some of those things so we'll be able to offset it, but yes.
Fantastic. I just remember talking about that last year, so I was just
100%.
update. Thank you.
Good question.
And picnic tables, do we still go to Ballersburg to get picnic tables?
We've actually been trying to make some of them ourselves. We're pretty, maintaining.
Guys at the high school that made the wagon.
Good idea.
They made an amazing
Really nice
set of pic,
one. And they still have redwood from the old water tank, it sounds like. So you might want to talk to the Gunderson before he retires. And see about that. 'Cause I think they still have some redwood from the old water tank. At least that's what he said. I don't
If we can mill it and put it together, we've got plenty of wood.
Yeah, so that's it, okay.
Are you saying you have the wood?
We've got tons of, we just took down the cedar out here. I've got tons of wood at Gold Bug. We've been cutting it. We've been legally cutting it down for a long time.
We should get the high school involved with those projects.
Yeah.
Because even if they put a plaque on it and say, done by El Dorado High School or whatnot, it just, yeah, that's a cost savings right there.
He's got a Swedish sawmill. You can get a hold of Ray, and I bet he'd come and mill up some boards for you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. So
Golf cart. Yeah. Picnic tables, park benches, anything that we can make out of wood that the high schools can do as programs, that would be amazing. Let's see, industrial outdoor sound system, portable stage.
okay, now I'd like to hand it off back to Nick Stone to go over the Public Works Department requests.
Thank you, Natalie. The first item that I have is a crack sealer. It uses the hot asphalt bricks. They go in there and they melt. It's one of the most cost-efficient ways for us to preserve the life of the roadways out there, is just to seal those cracks so that water doesn't get in there. Right now, we run one a few times a year, but the challenge with it is that it takes the majority of our crew to go and run it. And so if we drive down to Sacramento and pick it up, and then we have a water main break, that machine's sitting there, or we're taking it back, and it's about $600 a day when we get it. We try and block off a week or two at a time so that we can just go out and just seal as much as we can, get our money's worth out of it. Next one's a hydrant buddy. What that is, it's a fire hydrant valve exerciser, and it's also got an attachment to go and exercise the valves that are in the street to extend the useful life of them. Next one after that is one that we've had several years in the past. It's water meter radio points, and this allows the guys, instead of going to every single box, bending over, clearing the brush off and opening it up, they can do drive-bys and just pick up the reads in the handheld as they're going. After that, it's a micrometer tester. This allows the water meters to be tested for efficiency in place. Right now, sometimes we'll get a complaint from somebody that their meter isn't working. Usually when those meters fail, it's not in the favor of the city. It's in favor of the resident. The reads are gonna make it more beneficial for them. And so if we get a complaint like that, the guys have to go out, they have to pull the meter, they take it over to EID with their machine, it's calibrated. With this, they could just do it in place right there. And I think it'd be really beneficial. After that, there's a sewer camera. This is probably one of the the most used pieces of equipment that we have. The one that we have right now, it's probably coming up on, I'm thinking 12, 13 years old. They get, the guys take good care of them, but they get abused where they go, so. After that, it's sewer camera van upfitting. If you recall, a few years back, you approved a new camera van for us. The one that we currently have is like the old PD SWAT van. It regularly needs repairs. When the initial replacement one was submitted, it was to, our hope was that we would take the existing equipment that's in the one we have right now. Our maintenance mechanic would put all that into the other one. He's wrapped up with a million other things and just doesn't really have the time for it. We're 2-3 years after that it's been approved. So what this would do is utilize a professional company that does this stuff all the time, so they can go in there and just blow it out and be done with it. After that one, it's a sewer pipe patch kit. This would allow us to make some repairs in place, as opposed to, like, we've got some sewer lines that are in backyards, and there's challenges if we're taking down fences or doing all kinds of weird stuff to get back there to do the repair. This is it's basically like a plastic polymer type material that allows to go inside there. It's like a balloon that blows up and then just does the repair in place. It's pretty cool technology.
Kind of like relining.
Oh, very exact same concept, yeah. Just on a smaller scale.
It is, yeah.
We're just not gonna be doing hundreds of feet of it. We're gonna be doing like, hey, there's a route that's coming in and it's a 2-foot section.
Okay.
Any questions so far? Next one is two Toyota Tacoma pickup trucks. These would be purchased off the state DGS contract list. So after that, we're on to the water service puller kit. This is kind of similar to the sewer patch kit that I was talking about. Sometimes, if there were challenges with digging up a water service, what this allows you to do, it's basically like pipe bursting technology. You fish a line through the existing, you would isolate it so there's no water in it. You fish the line through there, and it's a puller that, exactly. Do that again, John. Yeah, it just.
All the technical. What was it? All the technical.
That's what it does, and then right behind it, you're pulling a new poly water service that goes, so it's a step up in efficiency and not destroying roads that we've paved or issues in people's yards. And that's it. Any questions? Sue?
I'd like to say that we made sure that we did this water hydrant exerciser.
Hydrant buddy.
Yeah, so the hydrant, so that's a question I had with the hydrant buddy too.
Yeah, the hydrant buddy valve exerciser, I think, is really important, because if we don't exercise those valves on our, especially on our water out to the trucks that do the fire. So our fire hydrants, if they don't get exercised and they freeze up, and then you hook up your fire truck to that hydrant and there's no water, you are in deep trouble, especially if somebody's house is burning down right next door. So I think that one is really a critical one to do.
Okay, so my question about the hydrant buddy, does the fire department do any of this kind of stuff throughout the county with the hydrant buddy?
A while back, sorry, say the question again.
So the hydrant buddy,
Yeah,
okay, other than being in the city,
yes.
does the fire department do any of these kind of exercises with the same process for the fire hydrants throughout the county?
I do not know about outside the county, but last year, myself, Chief Cordero, and Chief Shepherd sat down and we were starting to develop a program. Some stuff happened. We didn't get to go forward with that, but we're hoping to with some other things that you're going to see a little bit later in this budget, to have the resources to do
Because
it.
my question is, do they have the equipment to do this? Does the fire department?
No, I'm not aware of the fire department having any
Okay, so
resources
that
like that.
that was my question.
Yeah, and last year when we sat down and we started to develop that plan where Public Works is going to work with County Fire to try and do the ones within the city limits, it would have all been manually, so, yeah.
Okay. So, because if we could work with the fire department, I mean, if they're doing the same kind of maintenance throughout the county instead of, just the city, if they had the equipment, some way we could work with them to do the same process?
So actually, let me back up. So the rest of the hydrants, I know that are not maintained by us or EIDs. And EID has a completely different system than County Fire. Like they've got a giant trailer and a crew. I think that there's like 4 guys on it that go around and do that. And I would love to have 4 guys and a trailer to do this too.
Okay, so EID does this process?
Yes.
Okay.
In some areas, I'm not sure about every jurisdiction, but I do know that like an example I'll give is it's EID's water system
Right,
over by Home Depot,
okay.
and the guys are doing it over there.
Okay, so what would my question be, what does it cost EID to do a hydrant compared to how many hydrants we have within the city? And what would it cost us to work with them to do the same process?
Good question. That's an easy answer. So the answer is I hate to say it, we pay our employees less than EID, so it costs us less to do the work. And the positions, Nick kind of touched on this in our ASLs, the yellow bar. There are some positions that we assumed in your water and sewer rate study that will work on these exercising activities.
Okay, so we'd be getting away cheaper by buying the equipment that they need for us to do it, and instead of outside having it done.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's valves.
Mostly valves.
Okay, all right. It's kind of misleading with the hydrant buddy part of it. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. So we didn't have any requests from City Council, the Administration Department, or the Finance Department. So now we're on to just kind of the summary of the capital outlay requests that were submitted. There were a total of 27. There were a total of 27 submitted, and if you open up the blue bar, you'll get the department and then the specific requests. It'll subtotal it by department, and then on the second page, it'll go over the total requests. So for the 27 capital outlay requests, it's $580,738. And then how does that shake out by fund? General fund would be funding $191,802, water $59,998, sewer $223,000, and the gas tax fund $105,000. And just to kind of mimic what Dave said on the previous request, yes, the general fund and the gas tax fund is a challenge to fund these projects, whereas the water and sewer fund is less of a challenge for these new
Gas tax
requests.
fund, price of gas right now, we should be getting a lot of money back.
Well, so from the highway user tax, and if you do the RMRA, it's 600,000, but from the gas tax, like $300,000.
One comment I want to make is, knowing the condition of our general fund, we are looking at our cannabis community benefit fund, potentially making a recommendation to that committee next week to help fund some of these equipment items. So.
Okay, great. So now we are on to our alternative service level requests, and that will be handed off to Chief Wren.
Thank you. Now, I want to put everybody's mind at ease. Even though I'm identifying these positions, our officers do these things. These would just be positions focused strictly on that aspect of providing service to the community. But starting off with the traffic enforcement position, we used to have a motorcycle officer. It was Commander Maciel back in the day. You know, traffic continues to be the top 3 complaints we receive at the police department, and anybody that drives around town can see the challenges with the motoring public. So this would be a position focused strictly on traffic enforcement and education, and working with engineering. So, questions? Next is police officer position. Again, this would just be added to staffing. And I would divert other staff to deal specifically with transient crime-related activities. So, yeah. And the next is dispatcher's record technician. You know, ideally, we'd like to have two in dispatch center at all times. It just works better for breaks and stuff like that. As it stands, we have a block of time where that doesn't happen, so this would plug that hole for us. And that's it.
Thank you, Chief Wren. Now I'd like to hand it off to Carol Kendrick, our Development Services Director.
Thank you. So this request is for a new assistant planner. There was an associate planner position that was vacated more than a year ago, and during the 25-26 budget, that position was frozen. So currently, I am performing all the planning operations, and so we are seeing some delays in our current planning responses, plan checks, and other things as I'm trying to work through our advanced planning and long-range planning, again, with complying with our housing element and prepping for a new housing element. So I am requesting an assistant planner. It's a lower level than we previously had, but again, I'm hoping to attract maybe someone that's green, willing to learn, and have more success in attracting an applicant.
Thank you, Carol. Now I'd like to hand it off to Melissa Savage to go over the engineering and the wharf requests.
Thanks, Natalie. So again, for the engineering division, we are not recommending any alternative service level requests. Really, at this point in time, I still have 2 vacant engineering positions, and so I am focused on trying to fill those. For the water reclamation facility, we have proposed some structural changes. These are the same things we've talked about for the last couple of years, and really is just to promote employee retention and keep the staff that we have. So first shown on here is the water reclamation facility operator for salary enhancement. And due to the other things, the next 2, really this is just a pay scale compensation increase that's necessary to prevent compaction when we have the senior operator position. Second is the senior operator position. So this would incentivize staff to take on more of a leadership type role. They'd be given additional responsibilities. And then lastly is the operator advancement program, which would allow advancement after certification requirements and the number of hours are met. And this is all part of the changes that we're proposing to keep the great employees that we have. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. Now I'll hand it off to Mr. Nishihara to go over community service requests.
Thank you, Natalie. This additional position would basically be our 5th maintenance worker to help offset the existing workload. The second recommendation is in regards to the first step towards our right sizing as an outcome of our previous reorganization. And then the last 2 are added services in regards to the adjustment that we made for our softball league schedule this past year in regards to actually giving us some opportunities to host our own tournaments for adults between those 2 seasons. And then the last one is hopefully something that will start to pick up. And that would be most likely not just kickball, but hopefully as we kind of lean into the budget a little bit more, see if we can't even squeeze out some pickleball camps too. So.
I hope you were going to say dodgeball.
We thought about dodgeball, but I feel like the liability there in regards to the exposure would be too much for us to pay for.
Pickleball is still.
We had conversations about adult flag football, women's league, and men's league, since it will also be an Olympic sport in 2028.
Yeah, the pickleball is like the fastest.
Pickleball is fire right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
anything we can put
And we have
towards
brand new
that.
courts.
Softball's a little 6'7", but
Oh, jeez, come on, Dennis.
pickleball is fire.
2.5-year-old grandson.
Oh, no, no.
My one grandson got crazy because I turned 67.
I'm available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis. So now I would like to hand it back to Nick Stone to go over the Public Works ASL requests.
Thanks, Natalie. The first one is a Deputy Public Works Director position. This position would basically be upgrading the current
public works superintendent to take on some more complex duties. After that one, we have a utility service technician position. That's what I was speaking about with exercise and valves, hydrants, things of that nature. Our current utility service technician is the one that tests the backflows, does all the state and federal mandated water sampling, higher level tasks of that nature. And then the last one's a maintenance worker advancement program. Right now, what this would do is if somebody was a maintenance worker one and they attained a certificate in sewer collections or water distribution, had satisfactory evaluations and had been here for, I believe it was a year, it allowed them to advance from maintenance worker 1 to maintenance worker 2. Any questions?
I just had a question about the employee benefits being almost equal. What does that mean?
So the employee benefits include anything from Medicare, city match, Social Security, workers' comp, medical, dental, vision, those kind of ancillaries, as well as pension. Yes.
It's kind of surprising if you're, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now I've got on the screen, it's the yellow bars. This is just where we're just at a high level. So all those alternative service level requests, whether it's a new position, a change, an expansion, addition, deletion. So that's all summarized here by starts from each department. And then what the net cost is just under $1 million, $928,260. And then you can see the breakout by the funds. The reason it's a little bit lower than the total cost is because the revenues that the adult kickball and softball tournament would generate is kind of a wash. So the net cost is $928,000, and where that hits the general fund is $738,000. And then parking district, a little bit of the maintenance worker would work in the parking sector, and then water enterprise at $32,000, sewer at $139,000. So again, yes, there's going to be a challenge with the general fund. Any questions regarding those requests, or? Okay, if there's no questions, we can move on to conference, training, and travel. And I'm going to hand it back to Chief Wren.
Thank you. The first is for Patrol Division. The first two SLI is the Leadership Institute for our frontline supervisors, sergeants, and corporals. Part of their matrix training when they get promoted. Next 4 is your interview and interrogation course. We like to send every new officer through that to gain basic fundamental knowledge on how to control a suspect interview, or even a witness and victim interview scenario. Next 2 are basic traffic investigation. Officers need to complete that course before they can issue findings or cause of a traffic collision, and also issue citations and take people to court. Next 2 are emergency vehicle operator course instructors. Again, part of our strategy at the police department is to train instructors, so I'm not sending 20 officers off-site to get this training themselves. We have no EVOC instructors, and last year I had to send everybody up to Chico to get that basic training. It is a training that's required by California Post every 2 years. And then impact weapons instructor, again, we need that for our perishable skills instruction that we provide the officers every 2 years. Moving on, this is investigations. The ICI core is just the basic detective school that they go to. There they learn search warrant, case law, just all the stuff how to be a detective. Next is homicide investigations course. It's a more in-depth, intensive course. And well, it's been 20 years since I went to homicide school, but it was pretty interesting. They assist with identifying causes of death and just everything associated with homicide. Narcotic investigation. When I said the traffic was one of the top 3 that we're constantly getting bombarded with, narcotics is in there as well. And then ICI interview and interrogation. That's a more intensive course for investigators. More of the body language type of interviewing stuff that they go through. And then the next 2 are crime scene investigation courses to process crime scenes.
And council, you may notice on the right-hand side, there's an amount, it's called reimbursement, so that's police officers and standard and training, potentially getting reimbursed from the state. Not a lot of money, but it helps.
I was just going to ask about that. So we had a conversation last year, but was there any change in that post reimbursement? I know we had a pretty lengthy conversation about it last year.
It's still relatively low. I mean, the state, when they have a budget deficit, they always look at stuff like this to try to fill those gaps. It's not like it used to be, 90s and early 2000s. We were getting these courses covered 100%. And if you remember, just a handful of years back, they suspended all post reimbursement, so we didn't get anything back. But we still had the mandated requirement. So it's a moving target. This is these estimations are based on what they're currently doing now, but when their new budget cycle comes around, they could change it on us again.
I just think it's important for the public to know that, as you can see those numbers, 14,000 on the back page as opposed to a $1,600 reimbursement. These are, just a huge gap between what the state requires and what they reimburse us for. So,
yeah, definitely. Next is for our dispatch and records staff. The first 2 are RIMS conference. Again, thank the council for investing in the RIMS program for our police department. It is exceeded every expectation that we've had. The amount of data that we can access is really awesome. This would send 2 staff members to the RIMS conference to learn the latest and greatest, again, because it is software constantly updates, so there are new updates that they need to become familiar with. Next is basic dispatcher course. That's required by post. The next 4 are dispatcher customer service. Dispatching's that's a tough job. I couldn't do it. They're talking to people who are having their worst day, and it could just be the dispatcher's Tuesday. So a reminder to be empathetic, to understand that to them, the people that are seeking help, it's an event for them, and just again reinforcing our expectations. Next 2 are school violence. That's unfortunate reality of the world we live in today, and how our dispatchers would handle situations like that. Next 2 are liability and records, and the one after that is the PRA stuff. Man, we're just getting crushed with PRA requests daily. So ensuring that we're not releasing information of a confidential nature to the public is extremely important. These courses and these updates to these courses are crucial to avoid any kind of liability flags. Next is evidence management. If you remember, Shirley retired and Sarah moved into that position, so this is going to get her up to speed. She's doing a fantastic job. She can probably teach that class at this point, but it'd be nice to get her to it. Police administration, first 2 are Cal Chiefs Conference, and second 2 are International Police Chief Conferences. Cal Chief Conference more than the others because it gives us, we don't have PSP requirements, we have CPT requirements. Every 2 years we have to have so many hours of training, and this focuses on things that are more applicable to the administration of a police department, the liability, the case laws that are coming out, different trends in policing, and also, it can't be lost the networking opportunities, because when something happens here, I'm calling my counterparts in different jurisdictions, trying to figure out what they're doing or if they're seeing the same issues. So that's a good conference to attend. And I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, now I'd like to hand it off to Carol Kendrick to go over the development services request with, starting off with planning.
Thank you, Natalie. So again, this is a wish list. I have 3 conferences listed for planning, which is the American Planning Association Annual Conference, the Association of Environmental Professionals Conference, and the California Association of Local Economic Developers Annual Conference. All 3 of these conferences do provide high-value information to keep up to date on new legislation, new planning laws, what kind of different techniques are out there. And again, with the economic development, it's really about networking and bridging with other organizations that are similar in size or have similar challenges, such as a small city of ours. And then moving on to the building division, we do have the Building Officials Leadership Academy. It's the California Building Officials Leadership Program. That is not a required course. However, the annual SVABO Education Institute 2026 Sacramento Valley Training Institute is a required item for the building official to meet the continuing education units. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Carol. Now I'd like to hand it off to Melissa to go over engineering and the water reclamation facility requests.
Thanks, Natalie. So for the engineering department, engineering division, I have no requests for conference training and travel. To be honest, that is primarily due to the fact that I don't have any time to attend any conferences. I am still doing, I know, the saddest face ever. I am still having to run the department and do my old senior engineer role, and there just isn't time to do any of that kind of professional development that I would like to do. But for the water reclamation facility, we do have some requests for conference training and travel. The first, there's actually 3 of them that are different types of technical training to support staff development. Those came out of employee annual reviews and just what they are interested in trying to get more knowledge in. 2 of them are for certifications and test preparation for those certifications. There's also 2 conferences in there, some for the operators to stay current on industry trends, and another for the chief plant operator to attend an annual training as well, or sorry, annual conference. And the last 2, the confined space and forklift training, are required. So that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Now I'd like to hand it off to Dennis Nishihara to go over community services.
Thank you, Natalie. CPSI certification is regards to playground inspections. It's just, I put this on there last year because I think we could get ahead of it, and I think it would be beneficial for us to be able to have an individual on staff to be able to ensure that we are properly and regularly inspecting our playgrounds. Professional development and CEUs for the annual conference for the National Recreation and Parks Association. We currently have 2 certified pool operators. We do run a 7 days a week for 10-week program, and so that would help to kind of offset just depending on 1 or 2 people. That would actually allow us to kind of schedule more appropriately throughout the summer. The next following ones are pretty regular. The first aid and CPR. Oh, no, that's not us. I thought I put that on there. Sorry, my apologies. I think that's it. Sorry about that.
That, the CPSI certification, that's every year they have to get recertified, or is it last?
2 years.
I thought we did it last year.
We actually went ahead and worked with our, help me, Dave, we utilized Shane from, Sedgwick, to come out and just give us a basic assessment of all of the playgrounds and kind of tell us where we're at and rate them in regards to, okay, this is a number 1 thing that you need to fix at this playground versus this is the number 4 thing that you should probably eventually fix as it goes down the line. This would allow us to do regular monthly, weekly inspections and then be able to determine on whether or not we'd be able to fix them internally, or if not, we'd have to have the manufacturer provide us some support professionally.
Would the alternative to that be having somebody, like an outside contractor fill that role?
Yeah, so we typically every inspection per playground will average anywhere from about 200 to 600, depending on how extensive you want the inspection to be, fall zones and other pieces like that, how long the swing set is, if the belts need to be changed and other pieces. This would just let us to be a little bit more proactive too, so then that way we can utilize the actual forms and the inspection sheets, so then that we can actually start to, not that we're not keeping records, but now we can actually start to keep records on where we're at on a regular basis. With that said, I'm available for questions you have any. Sorry for the confusion in regards to CPR and first aid.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll hand it over to Nick Stone to go over the Public Works requests.
The first one I've got on there is first aid CPR. We utilize in-house trainers from my friend Mr. Nishara's staff. I actually went through that and restarted either earlier this year or late last year. It was a great class. After that, it's confined space. We try and use, if there's openings down at the wharf when they do theirs down there, we try and send some guys down to it. If not, then we use an outside training provider for that. Flagger safety, that's for the guys that are on the road. Continuing education water, that's for them to maintain their certificates for water distribution to continue working on the water system. After that, there's asbestos pipe. There's a pretty decent amount of asbestos pipe that we use for our water distribution system, and guys just need to know how to take care of themselves and be safe when they're working with that material. After that is sewer collections. That's continuing education units so that they can maintain their sewer certs. And then excavation and trench safety, that's a Cal OSHA requirement one. Mr. Horncasa did provide me with some resources through that we might be able to utilize and save some money on that one. And then after that one is SERP sewer. That's spill emergency response program. And historically, we utilized Steve Herrera to provide that training. There were some changes with the state code and requirements for that. We tried to do it in-house for a little bit, and there's other things that we're better at than training our guys how to do that. So we get a lot more bang for our buck when we use DFK to come in and do the outside training with that. Any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Nick. Now I'd like to hand it over to our city manager, Dave Warren, to go over city council and administration.
Thanks, Natalie. So for the city council, we assumed the same level that we budgeted back when things were a little bit better. And just as an assumption, and you're welcome to comment on that or make any adjustments you would see fit. So
We eliminated it last year, so yeah, take it all out. Yeah.
None of us have the will or desire to actually use that money.
So you got what,
There are much greater needs than.
Yeah, there's $5,000.
we appreciate your frugality. So
Send this money to our other people.
Yeah.
we honestly would like to be able to fund something, but we understand this year's budget's going to be extra tight. So the next section is the administration department, city manager. So we have the Cal City's annual conference. In the past, from time to time, the city manager did attend that. Sometimes it's in Southern California, sometimes it's in Northern California. I believe it's in Southern California, unfortunately, this year. Probably isn't going to happen. So, and then lunch and learn, that's something we haven't done in a while, but about quarterly, we do a lunch and learn on a particular topic for employees to come and have lunch and chat about certain subject matter. And then just miscellaneous meetings, networking with other agencies. So that's that. Moving on to city clerk, these two trainings, you have the Anthenon Dialogues 3 and the CCAC Annual Conference. Both of those items we had in last year's budget and they got cut. So Regina, I don't know if you want to comment on that. Okay. But it's something that we would like to do if possible, but we understand it. We have certain budget constraints. So with that, I'll hand it over to Natalie.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, and for the finance department, there's just two requests. We had some internal promotions over the last couple years, and these are actually requests from last year that were cut. Just collection law training for our accounting supervisor, just regarding recent changes in collection laws. And then business license training for an accounting assistant too, just some knowledge of current laws, regulations, and any upcoming legislation pertaining to the issuance of business licenses. Okay.
Thanks, Natalie, and thanks. I want to thank Natalie for all her work and all of our department heads preparing all this information. So she has, actually, we do have one more slide. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. Appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, just really quick. Yeah, thank you to all the department heads. So they submitted their request. Then that green bar sheet just goes over the summary. Police went over patrol investigations, records dispatch and administration. We went over planning and building, water reclamation facility. Then we went over parks and rec, as well as public works, city council, administration, and financial management. So what you can see is the net cost is for these trainings, and some of them are mandatory. The total net cost is $131,754. It was mentioned by Ryan about the post reimbursement. We are estimating that to be $5,000. So that reduced our amount from $136,000 to $131,000. And unfortunately, a lot of these trainings will fall on the general fund budget, which is of that $131,000 in requests, $95,000 of it is hitting on the general fund. And then water fund, $2,967, sewer fund, $37,967.
So that's all we have for you tonight. I would ask, is there anything, the items that we presented tonight, is there anything that you would like to see? Is there something missing? We do have the equipment list. We normally don't present that because it's very granular. It's our, not equipment list, but our computer equipment list. It literally goes by desktop computer and server, and it's just for information. I can tell you that several of our 3-in-1 machines, copier, printer, scanners, which usually run between 14 and 16,000, are now double because of tariffs. They're like 30 to 32,000. It's like a used car, right? Drive your copier.
Just a quick question. So I'm assuming, and since this is my 4th year in doing this, that all the mandatory trainings that have to be taken care of are usually taken care of, correct?
We tried through free training webinars. We do have service days through our 2 risk pools. We have 3 service days with NCCSIF, and then it's technically 5 service days with CIRA, but it's kind of unlimited, so we can also utilize those resources for training.
Okay, so, and I'm talking about through all departments, law enforcement, engineering,
That's very
public works,
specialized.
everybody. You guys have never had a problem getting your mandatory trainings taken care of through our budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So one of the things and I know you guys are probably already doing this, is basically balancing out whether or not the equipment that you need compared to staffing that you need, which is more important, right? So that's kind of one of the things I'd like to really take a closer look at this year is like, okay, how much of this equipment do we absolutely have to have? Which ones make more sense to purchase compared to the existential contracting out to take care of things? Because, the long-term maintenance of things costs more in the long term than it does just buying the equipment outright. And then is it possible to combine positions? Now, not all departments are going to be able to do this, combine positions to possibly give us a higher paying salary for somebody that has a little bit more skill than having two lower salary paid personnel that, you know, we're going to hopefully be able to bring up. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for this year. I mean, I guarantee that all of you are probably looking at this every year, but I know that in the last 4 years that I've been doing this, or 3.5 years I've been doing this, that's probably not something I've heard a lot about. So if that is something possible that we can look at maybe this year, because I would really like to see our staff get a little more help. So
I appreciate the comment, and
Yeah.
I can tell you that, yes, we are looking at those things. One, with the unfortunate passing of Jason Tanger, our IT director, we just contracted with Mid-Valley IT, which is a firm in the Sacramento.
Yeah, the unexpected stuff, we're
But
not
we're
gonna be
also-
able to, you know, budget for that. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Long-term,
But,
we may
you know, I
recommend.
mean, for some of our departments, if there are positions that we can go, hey, you know what? We don't need to lower end, but if we could combine those positions, give a little bit higher paying salary, and maybe attract a little bit more skilled personnel and bring them in to help fix some of that workload issues that our staff has and has been having, I think that is probably a bigger benefit to the city than us just to, you know what, we can't do these two positions this year, so we're gonna try and hopefully maybe do them next year. So, you know, I mean, can we push the envelope a little bit? You know, I mean, yes, do we need this, would we like this piece of equipment, or do we absolutely need this piece of equipment? Because this piece of equipment, if we spend the $6, $8, $10, $20,000, is gonna save us in the long run. I mean, where can we push the numbers around to start making things a little bit better, not only for, you know, the city itself, but for the staff that we have running everything? That's what I'd like to see this year.
So department heads, this budget team has reviewed the initial draft budget that Natalie presented, and kind of a spoiler alert, we have about a 8.04% general fund deficit. So this is in the heels of 2 years of deficits. So it becomes more difficult every year, but we're looking at everything. And Natalie and I have started preliminary analysis on certain things. I've asked the department heads to go back and look at their line items as best they can to address it. The challenge is about 75% of your general fund budget is personnel. So, yeah, to your point, yeah, we have a lot of analysis to do, and we'll be coming back with a recommendation to balance the budget, but it may take a couple workshops to get there. We hope, you know, our next workshop's on the 21st of May. So we'll hopefully have a balanced budget for you.
Yeah, just to add to Dave's point, prior to any of the new requests that we, shared with you today, it's an 8.4%. And then there's new requests are in addition to that, so.
Okay, thank you for all of that news. Yeah, there's a part, the other thing too I'd like to see, because it's obvious that when you, a position that spans and goes into funded out of the sewer bill or the water bill, then there's money there because we set the rates to provide for those employees to actually do their jobs. And then sometimes they have costs that are outside of that, and then that's the general fund. I'd like to see a little bit more on that, just because sometimes when they get all kind of smushed together, it's hard to kind of pull them out. I mean, we know how to look at the spreadsheets and say, well, that one's out of the water fund, this one's out of the sewer fund, and it's like, and you can do math in your head, but it'd be nice just to see that. I also think that in the here and now, we should really start to do some things that would help staff with their current problems. I think we should, I understand we have some departments that are closed on Fridays. I think they should all, but in terms of public facing, I think they should all be closed on Fridays, public facing. We have way too much work, not nearly enough people. And it's not good. One thing I always say about, because I used to work in the private, I've worked in the private sector, which I do now. I am also self-employed, and the public sector. And the public sector does a really good job of hiding their problems because they don't want to show the public
the problems they're having, which is a worthy and noble thing. That's why public service is what it is. These people earn every dime of that money that's in those budgets. Benny's salary, every freaking dime, okay? But sometimes you just have to go to the public and say, listen, we can't be open on Fridays. I know it's a pain in the butt. Because what happens is they come here on Friday and there's nobody here, and then they go down to Center Street and they complain to that poor woman that sits behind that desk and has to field discussions about water bills and sewer bills and business and God knows what else. And we should just cut that off and be very nice about it and very polite, but just do it. And that would give some bandwidth to the people to actually get all this other work done. Because until we figure out a way to get more people to come and work and fill some of these FTEs, this is what we've got. And we have a planning director and a chief engineer that are out doing staff work, which is not good. So anyway, I think we obviously we need to come up with a balanced budget. We'll come up with a balanced budget. We do it every year. And this is why when you don't, and I love some of the comments, and I'm curious about this HSA thing, because I have a sneaking feeling we can't make people use their HSA benefits to fund mandated trainings and stuff. My gut, maybe I'm wrong, might be wrong, and I'd like to be wrong. I'm just saying I might be wrong, but I have a sneaking feeling in my head there's going to be a disconnect.
Well, it's, with
Yeah.
some of the comments that you made, my
Yeah.
question is,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the city has to pay taxes to deduct
Right.
those kind of things. So
I don't know.
Are we
might-
paying enough taxes?
I mean,
that
and if it can be done and there is some savings, then great, then we save some money, and nobody wants to not save money, so that's a great idea. But that's why you don't get real excited about the first page of general fund expenditures, because there's like 4 pages behind it, and they're all as important, and they all as exciting, and they all need to be done. And the one department that spends most of its time in the general fund is the one department that the people in this town like the most. Park and Rec. Park and Rec gets great things. I mean, they love all of you, don't get me wrong. They love all of you. They love every one
We're
of you.
just the lucky ones get
Police
the
department,
movies and
right?
the dodgeball.
Park and Rec, and they're always at the bottom of
just
the
the ones
totem
that get-
pole. They're always at the bottom, and it's a drag.
I don't want to say too much, but I appreciate that, and I
Yeah.
do want us to also reflect on some of the hard conversations that we had last year in regards to the pool, right? And we really need to take a look at some of our priorities on where we're at, and once we're able to take a look at those things, I think it's going to be able to really help to delineate and to decide what certain things we're going to be able to do and what certain things we're not going to be able to do. And I'm only prefacing this conversation in the fact that when we did attempt to adjust or pivot away from the amount of hours that we were providing to serve at the pool last year, that was a huge conversation. Taking it a step further, I'm not saying we're in 2008, but I was around in 2008. And the reality is, based on water rates and repairs for playgrounds, the justification to close a park is definitely on the table. The justification to be able to pivot and adjust rates for vacant buildings and/or buildings that we're currently using and subsidizing other less priority projects. I think these are things that we definitely need to take a look at long-term, especially if we're holding on to a potential asset and we're unable to recoup or recover revenue from that asset, right? So these are larger conversations that I think, yes, 8.4% is about, but at the same time, it's also going to take staff legwork to be able to set what those priorities are so we can hear from council and say, okay, Mr. Nishihara, I would like you to focus on, I'm making this up, scaffolding at Old City Hall versus a ratty Rotary Park playground. I mean, these are real conversations we're going to have. We're either going to fix the playground at Rotary, we're either going to close Orchard Hill, or we're going to deal with the scaffolding at Old City Hall. We cannot have everything we want. We just need to be able to set some of those priorities.
Yeah, I just want to put a little more context for the audience too. Back in the early 2000s, we used to run this city with almost 20 more employees. So when people say consolidate, do this, do that, sharpen your pencil, we've been doing that for a very long time. And there comes a point where city services are just going to have to be suffer and sacrifice because we can't work our staff to the bone, right? We can't work them overtime for 20 years and expect that they're going to stay and want to be here. That's the reality. So I'm saying that to your point on closing all the offices to the public on Friday. I think that is one thing we're going to have to do moving forward so that the state mandates and the mandatory work can get done that needs to get done. And that's just the reality of where we're at. Like I said, if we had 20 more people, we'd get it all done. We can't afford 20 more people, so we have to do what we have to do.
Yeah, and I think that the council members made a really great point. There are certain departments that get really have been hit hard and continue to get hit hard because they're general funded. So I just had like this little printout, and it's the dollar. It's the dollar. It's helpful.
The infamous
you know?
dollar.
So every general fund dollar, 34% of that goes to police, followed by 26 cents to community services. The other departments are really a fraction of that. So it is, in my opinion, it's kind of like the ones that support the water and sewer can be fully staffed, and the departments that are supported by the general fund are hit really hard. And so it's something that we have to really think about as well, because there's certain departments like development services that just can't make any more cuts. So it is a challenge that the city is facing.
We have add-on sales tax. We have Measure H is for the police PD. Is that H?
J.
J. When J was passed, it was booting in a whole bunch of money. J's in a deficit now. It's the sales taxes aren't keeping up with the inflation and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So you'll go to people in the city who've been here for a while, and they'll say, well, we got Measure J, though. And that fixed all our problems forever, and it's not. And even H&L, which are great, by the way, we would be in a world of hurt if we didn't have H&L to do some of these capital projects, which Melissa doesn't have enough people to actually do all the work. But they're not keeping up, though. They're not keeping up with the inflation and with everything else that's going on. So, the funding situation is a real thing, and we're going to have to get there's only so much creativity you're going to be able to apply to this process. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't cost less to go to the county, because that's what they always want to do with his department. And everybody over at the county at the same thing all makes more money. You want to see benefits, you should look at their benefit packages.
Yeah.
Of course, that's why their benefit packages. You want to look at their deficit, take a look at their budget deficit.
And just to add to that, John, we're projecting a $976,000 deficit to Measure J. So like that won't offset those costs, so then the general fund kicks in. So, and that just grows by like $100,000 every year.
All right. Any other questions or comments anybody would like to make before we adjourn? Nope. All right. Oh, one.
Here does.
Yeah.
Nobody's tried to talk you out of it yet, huh?
There's all sorts of things you can do. Yeah, this is it.
Make sure it's green.
All right, cool. So this is pretty cool. I appreciate oh, it's a car outside. All right. I appreciate the chance to be here. This is all pretty cool. And then the only thing that I have is, would you be able to answer some questions, Mayor Gottberg, please? After we're done with all this outside, no?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And then that's all. I appreciate this. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, I am going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:49 p.m.
6:49.
Or sorry, 6:49 p.m.
Wow. We're in a time warp.
That's where I'm at.